Welcome back to Tay Radio Marin. I am your host, Santi Hernandez, and today we're going to be talking about voting and giving you guys information on who qualifies to vote, where you can vote, what are important things on the ballot that you should know. And today, to talk about all of these things, I have Pedro Moreira, who is the voter engagement coordinator from Canal Alliance. Pedro, welcome.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Santi. Well, my name is Pedro Moreira. I'm an immigrant from Brazil. I've been here for 5 years, and now I'm working with Canal Alliance. I'm the voter engagement coordinator, as you said, and the work that I do there is like assisting our community members, especially in the Canal neighborhood, to register to vote, and we are like informing people, disseminating information. Yeah.
Well, I am very excited. We know that this election has been very historic because there has been so many, I think this generation is living through a lot of historical moments. We've known so many things, and we are not promoting any political side. We are just encouraging all of you guys to get informed and making sure that you guys know where to vote and how to vote. But before we dive in, I do want to ask our icebreaker question. And you mentioned that you 5 years ago from Brazil.
Yeah.
So my question is, what is something that you miss the most from home?
Ooh, it's easy. The food.
The food?
Yeah, the Brazilian food.
What's your favorite dish?
My favorite dish is pamonha. Pamonha is it's a kind of the Brazilian tamal.
Really?
Yeah. It's in Mexico they call tamal de lote, but it's not the same.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
What's different about it? What makes it?
we put like cheese. It's super cheesy, and it's
Really?
the like I don't know. It's like a little bit like wet, and it's not like super dry as
Really?
the
Okay.
yeah.
So you've tried tamalitos de elote. Okay. Tamalitos de elote are basically a corn. Oh, how do you even describe a tamalito? But it's a corn food.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. I love Brazilian food. I
Oh.
have a couple of Brazilian friends around here, and I don't know why, but I can't do the accent, but pan de queso.
Pão de queijo.
Yeah, I cannot say it. Is one of my favorite appetizers to be eating. I can eat that all the time, especially when it's like really warm. But I love the Brazilian food, and I'm curious to try that because one of my favorite dishes from when we have corn harvest in Guatemala is the tamales de elote. So,
Tamal de lote. Oh,
yeah, it's
great.
one of my favorites. But yeah, see, I told you you'd like my icebreaker question. Yeah, so let's get started. I want to know a little bit. I think your story is very, very interesting that you came here and we spoke earlier and you're not eligible to vote.
No, yeah.
So you're have a legal status here, which is awesome, but you are not eligible to vote. But your work is around encouraging
People to vote.
people to vote,
Yeah.
which is awesome. But I want to take it back and kind of hear of like who you are and what got you to be doing this type of work.
Sure.
So hand it off to you.
Well, I came here in the U.S. in 2019 before things in Brazil got bad. So I came here as with visa, and then I decided this is my place now. Not I decided, but I felt like this is my place to stay, and I wasn't feeling safe in Brazil anymore after all the things that were happening there in that time. Yeah. And well, I'm starting a new life here from zero. I came by myself. I was only 19 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And well, here I am today. Yeah.
I think that is very interesting because a lot of our population in America are immigrants, and not all of us have the opportunity to vote. And a lot of us have seek refugee here. In that case was for my grandpa that he left during like the war and everything that was happening in Guatemala, which led us here. But was there a culture shock in any way for you arriving here from there?
Yeah. Especially because I'm from a city, well, a state which is very conservative. It's like right in the middle of the Brazil, of the country. It's close to the capital, but it's like a very rural area, and yeah, it's very conservative. And as a LGBTQ member, yeah, it wasn't like safe place to stay. Yeah.
I'm curious to know, is there any difference that you've seen regarding voting and
Yeah.
and from Brazil here that you noticed? Is there,
A lot actually. Yeah.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
kinda curious to know
I have some like background in law in Brazil, and
Oh, okay.
especially I have a passion for politics. My grandfather used to be a mayor in Brazil, as his father did as well. And well, so I have some, I know about the politics and the electoral system in Brazil very well. And when I came here, is like it's a mess, a kind of mess. Each state has their own rules, and and the voting by mail is also like something very I don't know how to describe this, but
Yeah.
it's very different for us. It sounds like not safe. It sounds like
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you're right. There is voter by mail, and those who are registered to vote do receive a ballot that comes home. In my case, I thought I was registered to vote, or maybe you can answer that question, but I thought I was. But then when the ballots came in, my dad got one, my brother got one, and I didn't get one. But I can see how that kind of sounds weird because
Yeah.
all you do is fill it out and then go drop it off at a.
Yeah, especially Brazil, the mail is not like a example to other countries you have to follow. So when I started learning about the electoral system in the U.S., especially here in California in Marin County, I saw like it's great. It's amazing that you can vote early here. It's safe to vote by mail. It's actually I think it's better than vote in person. You don't need to go and face in the line, which can be huge, and
That makes sense. Okay. Well, I don't know Let's start here. You said you did research when you came here. You did research on like how the voting works here.
Yeah, I'm very curious.
And I think that's very important. And how much did that help you understand? So when we hear all about the changes that are being proposed, reading it, can you understand it a lot better by studying how that? Because I'm very honest. My family, when we were in the same boat, that was something that we had to learn.
Yeah.
Because back home in our political stance back home, it's very corrupted. Reality in a lot of other countries, it's very different, and here. It's a lot different. I mean, my dad has voted in line, and then I think this is his first year voting with a ballot and just dropping it off.
Yeah.
And what made you seem the ballot being dropped off dangerous? I'm kind of curious.
Oh, because as you say, politics in Brazil can be corrupting, So in Brazil, we vote in person, only in person, and on the election day, we don't have the option to vote early. So, and we don't have the culture to use mail. It's like if you need to do something, you go in person. We don't have that culture, so we don't trust mail and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's the main thing that sounds like weird for us. Yeah.
And then in the work that you're doing, what has been the biggest challenges or barriers that a lot of people face when they need to vote?
As I'm working with the Canal neighborhood in the Latino community, I think language. Yeah, we just figured out that Marine don't have like the enough Latino Spanish speaker population to qualify for sending the ballots in Spanish. So every single ballot here is only in English. So yeah, so I was working like 2 months registering people and informing them. But now that they receive the ballots, they figure out that's only in English, and it was like, okay, now I have my ballot. What are I going to do now? Because I don't speak English, So that's my like the first. I would say the yeah.
I didn't know that you need a certain number in order to
Yeah.
receive the ballots in Spanish.
Yeah, we have like two different rules. The federal rule, which is a number higher, and the California rule, but we are not like, we don't have like that much percentage of Spanish speakers to qualify for sending the ballots.
In Marin County.
Yeah, in Marin County.
Interesting. Well, that is, and I can kind of hear people saying, well, people should learn English in the back of my head with the voting. But I will say this. My parents speak English. They actually went to study a little bit of community classes in Picoee Park.
Yeah.
And I think my mom did some classes at College of Marin. Their English, they can communicate, understand. But when we're looking at the ballots, and whoever has gotten a ballot at home, you'll see the language is very
Confused.
formal. And I can understand that as a second learner in English, you might not understand exactly what you're voting yes or no to.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that we needed a certain number. And I think that, I don't know how politics work a lot, but there's not only just Spanish speaking citizens. There's Brazilian citizens. There's Asian countries that are that are citizens, and again, same thing. It's not that they don't speak or understand English.
Yeah.
It's just the language of how it's written that can be really confusing. And I can bet that also receiving the ballot in Spanish can also be very, very confusing. So what is it that you've been doing to support them when it comes to that language barrier?
We made like we record videos to explain the propositions, which is
Really?
something different also from the other countries' system, electoral system. Because in Brazil we are not voting for proposition. Sometimes we can have like referendums, which is different, but not like proposition. We're not voting for law,
Okay.
Yeah, so first I saw that it's something that we need to inform the people, because they never heard about the propositions. So I was explaining for them, propositions are proposals that the voters are going to vote yes or not, and we're going to become a law or not. So we record videos and share on Facebook. Yeah.
Okay.
Explaining each.
I think I've seen some of the videos. I think they're very, very helpful. Even though I'm like English, I can understand it in English very, very well. I think those videos are very helpful, kind of understanding. But we do have a question from an audience, and it's: can you explain the propositions that are being proposed right now?
Well, we have kind of 11 statewide propositions. But if you live in, for example, if you live in San Anselmo, Fairfax, in Larkspur, you have different, because they are voting for rental control measures also.
Okay.
So yeah, we have like the statewide propositions, and each proposition is like it's different theme. Yeah.
Can you explain the Santa Fe ones?
We don't have in Santa Fe. We have just one measure, that is the measure B, I think. It's only to allow or not the building of a new or rebuilding a library in downtown.
To have a library in downtown?
Yeah. to rebuild, like,
Oh, rebuild the
yeah,
library.
yeah,
Oh, the one here in SR. That's the only one we have?
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we have the other one in the J Borough.
Yeah,
Albert J.
yeah,
Borough. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I didn't know that we only had one proposition. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's very important if you live in San Anselmo, Larkspur, and Fairfax, because if they approve it or not, it's like a example for the other cities in California, not only in the county.
So can you explain that a little bit? You said housing.
Yeah.
Is that what you said, housing?
Yeah, it's a
What is proposed specifically about housing that would affect the community?
it's a rental control measure.
Okay.
So if they approve it, the city will be able to control like how much the rent can increase or not.
Okay.
Because today I believe it's 7%. So
yeah, rent.
yeah. If they approve it, it's like we're gonna be like let me. I've been working this in Spanish, but
Here, we'll say it in Spanish and see if I can translate it.
Va a estar como vinculado con el índice de inflación, like.
No idea.
Okay.
Javi, he can translate for me in the back. But if you said basically, say it one more time.
Nowadays, they can raise up the rental in 7% per year.
Okay, per year. I know they have to raise it each year.
Yeah.
Normally, your rental thingy is every year it goes by up by a certain amount. Is there a percentage, like a standard? Is that what the proposition is, to create a standard?
No, the proposition, the measure will change it to be vinculated with the index, like the inflationary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. So that's why it's important for the community to vote.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. How come, do you know if it's okay, so if my understanding is correct, every city gets to decide propositions. And if that goes through, it could be an example for like SR and other cities around. I see.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I'm not which is why I wanted to do the show, is because I'm not really familiar with like politics and proposition. But when I saw the ballot, there was so many other things though that I found very interesting. And again, I myself did not understand a lot of it, and you kind of have to do your own research to understand it.
Yeah.
And I think that when we think about the election, in our minds, it can seem that we're only voting for the next president of the United States. And that is something that I thought for a really, really long time, until I learned that. So when I was 18, I didn't vote because I thought that we had a very rocky voting situation, and I also didn't know we had to register to vote. But I didn't vote, and then I was like, oh, it's just like it's just the candidates, blah blah blah. And then we had a show here on Tay, and it talked about how when you're the voting that like the president matters a lot, but there's those small propositions that are affecting us in our community that are really important, right? Those small, like it goes down and down, like you said. And so when you start to understand that more, you start researching a lot more. Does that make sense what I said?
Yeah.
How do you think, you brought up that you guys with Canal Alliance, you're doing videos to explain the proposition. How has that really helped the community to understand more the propositions, or do you still get questions?
Yeah, I still have.
Still have more questions?
Yeah. People are calling me every day, and well, I don't have like the full capacity to answer all the questions, but it helped a lot. I think I saw like I was receiving like 10 calls or messages every day, and now I just 3 or 4, and then I need to follow up. Yeah, but yeah.
Do you think social media can be a very important tool to be used,
Yeah.
not to pull. How do I say? Because I mean, social media right now, if we talk about the election, has been really chaotic.
Yeah.
For everybody.
Yeah.
But when you talk about the propositions, I really enjoyed watching your videos of explaining things, but I haven't seen that a lot because, again, we're focused more on the bigger picture. Do you think that can help youth understand more, for example, on the propositions if more of those videos were released for both Spanish and English?
Yeah. We only record in Spanish, but we have our partners, like League of Women Voters in Marin County, and they have their own videos as well, pros and cons. They are non-partisan, so it's just information, just to explain what happens if you vote yes or not for each proposition, and I think that's awesome. And they are sharing their Instagram, Facebook as well. Yeah.
We kind of jumped straight into the point, but how do people register to vote for like, what are the requirements for you to be able to vote?
To be able to vote, you need to be the first thing is a U.S. citizen. If you're only a permanent resident, you cannot vote yet. But you need to be a U.S. citizen. And if you are 18 by the election day, you're eligible to vote. But if you're not, if you're 16 or 17, you can pre-register. And that's awesome because you're going to be all set for the next elections. Like, you're going to receive your ballot. You don't need to do anything else. It's just pre-register now and you're all set. And live in California. Yeah, those are the main requirements.
Okay. The other thing that I was going to mention is I think if you are a naturalized, is that naturalized citizen, you can also vote.
Yeah.
That's where I fall into. I was not born in the U.S., but I am a citizen. And that is something I didn't know, which is very important that you brought up that at 16 you can pre-register to vote, meaning you can't vote yet, but you're basically signed up, and then when you're 18,
you're automatically registered when you turn 18.
Yeah, that was what I thought I did. I didn't get my ballot, so then I realized that I had to register. Now I have a question for you. I registered late. The deadline for registering for this year was October 21st.
Yeah.
And I didn't get my ballot. So I was like, I didn't get mine. So I was like, I guess I didn't register to vote. So I registered. And then I got a notice that said that print this paper. So you registered late, but print this paper and go to the polls. Is it still possible for people like me to still vote?
Yeah, you can go in person in any voting center in Marin County. I can say that the Department of Elections of the Marin County is open every day, Monday to Friday, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And you can register and vote in the same day. Yeah, it's pretty simple.
And then, do you know the locations for where the community will be able to vote this year? Voting day is November 5th?
Yeah.
5th?
November 5th is, the voting day. It's the last day to vote. November 5th, you can vote in... We have some... Well, I will say only the San Rafael voting centers, which is the first one's the Marin County Department of Elections that are going to be open from 8 to 8.
Okay.
Yeah, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And we have here in San Rafael the Picoit Park, the library. We're also going to be a vote center in the November 5th. So you can vote that on the same hours. And other place is the Marine Community Clinics in Canal. Yeah, yeah. You can vote that as well. And there's open, they're going to be open November 2nd from 9 to 5.
Okay.
So that means if you don't have time in Monday to Friday, you can go during weekend to the Marine Community Clinics in San Rafael. In the
Perfect.
3240 Kerner Boulevard.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go to the one closer to home. But for those that the last day to vote is November 5th. I
Yeah.
thought that that's where everyone should vote, but I got that wrong.
No,
So
you
it's the
can vote
last day
early.
to vote.
Yeah.
So if you get your ballot in the mail, all you have to do is fill it out and then send it off. And then that's basically it.
Yeah.
The other thing is, are you comfortable explaining like how the electoral vote works? Because it's very different.
Yeah, but like what is your main question?
So for example, because I have had a really hard time understanding this. Because in theory, right, let's say you vote for if we're talking about the presidential
Okay,
election,
the presidential.
right? You're voting for whichever. In theory, you would say, okay, the majority, the
I see, like the electoral system. Okay,
yeah,
so
yes.
we
Do
have.
you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like
because it's really different,
It's
and for
really
someone who doesn't
different,
understand,
yeah.
you're kind of like, "What? I thought that this person would win," but there's a system that is
yeah.
very different.
Yeah, it's very different. So basically, we have 50 elections in the United States. Each state is having their own election, and then each states have like points that we call delegates, but they are like points. It's proportional to their population. So California, for example, we are the most populated state in the U.S., and we have 54 delegates,
Oh, okay.
which are points.
Okay.
You know?
we can consider them points.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And the total of delegates is 538. So that means to win the election, we need 270 delegates.
For whichever side, in order
Yeah.
to win, you need 270.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And how you can win that delegates? So you need to want, for example, if you win California, you have like already 54 delegates, and then you need to add, each state you need to add like the sum 270.
Oh.
Yeah, it is very confused.
I'm very happy that you explained that way in a very simple way that, for others who have a hard time, because I know it's so different.
Yeah.
It's not kind of like,
No,
when you
like majority. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
it's
remember in 2016 when Hillary versus Trump, Hillary got like 3 million plus than Trump.
yeah, that is when I learned a little bit more
Yeah.
about it, because as again for the show who are youth mainly listening to the show, they haven't had like a lot of understanding maybe, and when I saw that I was very confused, but then I realized like there's a whole other system that's behind it. But I love how you explained it, that it's kind of like we have 50 elections kind of happening.
Yeah.
And also for those who don't know, there's certain I'm curious to know, for example, we have different the United States owns different parts. For example, Puerto Rico is one. Do they count as voting?
No, because they are not like a state. So they're not voting for president, and they only have a single one representative, but this guy is not. It's like in Brazil we call carta blanca. He has.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he has no power. He's just to observe. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then does Hawaii count as a?
Yeah, because
Okay.
it's a state.
Okay. So is that the only one I'm missing? Because I know we own Puerto Rico.
And we have Guam, which is another U.S. territory in the Pacific,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So
and some islands.
yeah, okay. Because that was another thing for those who. Wait, now I'm coming up with another question. If you were born in Puerto Rico and then you live in the United States, let's say in California, can you still vote, or because you were born?
You can.
Okay, so
Yeah.
just not if you live in Puerto Rico. Really?
Yeah.
Huh, that's odd. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they vote for governor, but they are not voting for president or senator. Yeah.
Okay, but if a Puerto Rican moves to California, or any
yeah,
other state,
yeah.
they
It's
can vote.
eligible, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that's new information for me. Okay, in the experience you've had at work, what is something you hope to for later on election times? What is it that you see that is missing, and that is there something that you hope to have for the community? So I know you said the biggest one was the language.
Yeah.
Is there anything you see that you can add to support voters?
In the future, yeah. We need to figure out how we can pass the message to the community, the importance of their vote. Because, well, the first thing, we are in a blue state. Let's see, let's call it. So people think, oh, my vote doesn't matter because the blues is gonna win here. So, but that's not true because we have the local elections as well. We have local candidates, and we have the proposals, the propositions. Yeah. So I think for the next election cycle, we should figure out how we can explain to our community the importance of the local elections. We are explaining, but we should figure out how we can, like,
Yeah, I get
target.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. And
Because now it's complicated because we have like all the media and all the social media, all the TV talking about Trump versus Harris, and yeah,
yeah, that's what I mentioned earlier. And again, we're not choosing any sides, but
No.
it's been very chaotic in the media, and then there's a lot of false information. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of concerns in every place. But as you mentioned, that has caused a lot of people to say my vote doesn't
Yeah.
count or matter. But there's those local elections that we're choosing, and I don't think we brought it up, but those local elections, who are we voting for? So you said, did you say
senator and for the representative.
okay?
Yeah, even the statewide and the national.
So those are things that kind of gets thrown off because we always focus on the presidential one, but there's so many other things. I don't know if you know this. Do you know the percentage of youth that vote in Marin? Is it low, high?
It's low. I don't have like the exact number, but it's for the Latino community, the general Latino community. It's a small percentage which is eligible to vote. In that percentage, we have 1 in 4 eligible voters voting. Yeah, which is very
Very low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Marine, we have a high turnout, but not in our community.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so. For those who have not registered, I'm guessing you can kind of do what I did, was
Yeah.
register and then print out that paper or show it to go. Ideally, you want to meet the deadline, but unfortunately, I did not.
And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me in Canal Alliance. I'm assisting in person on Mondays. Next Monday, I'll be there from 8 to 6 p.m. So if you have any questions, don't miss.
Yes, you can reach out because
Yeah.
I'm asking so many questions. Do you know any, like, what's causing like the youth to pull back from voting? What causes that?
Well, in the Latino community, I would say the culture, because many families, their parents are undocumented, so they don't have the culture to vote, and they're not teaching to their kids. So yeah.
So that part of like not knowing how to. Okay. Interesting. I mean, like I said, we as a family learned, part of being in this country is learning a little bit more about the what's going on to understand and see how your vote matters. I
Yeah.
think, my dad learned that on his own, and I myself told him many times, like, I know what's the outcome is in California. I everything you said, a lot of it, like I remember saying when I was 18, I was like, I know kind of what's gonna happen. But he always said, no, you're like, even if it's a small portion, you can be that one vote that can go yes or no to a proposition that can impact you a lot.
Yeah.
And that is something that really made me analyze and understand. I'm like, okay, as a whole, it might seem that my vote, my voice doesn't matter. But if we look deeper, I could be that person who, which is a lot of pressure, but, who can, in order to pass something,
Yeah.
my voice could be that one vote needed,
Yeah.
right? So it's important, and a lot of, if we talk about the local proposition, it affects us a lot. For example, the library, you mentioned the library, the library in downtown San Rafael is very outdated. There's I've been there, and a lot of if we talk about the youth, I'm bringing Mill Valley here. There's a library in Mill Valley. It's a beautiful library.
Yeah.
It encourages me to go there and study, and encourages me to go read there. And so if we talk about downtown San Rafael, I've gone there a couple of times, but it doesn't bring in that. So we have a lot of people who go to school in SR, TL, and people who go to College of Marin. When you think about libraries, I can guarantee a lot of people don't want to go to SR. It's not very, I feel comfortable studying here. So
Yeah, I will say the main thing that we're facing in this election here in the Marin County is the housing crisis.
yes,
Yeah.
I agree with that too.
We of course, library is important, super important. But if you see, like, we Gen Zs, we are paying like I'm just
Yeah.
yeah, we are paying like more than 50% of their salaries in spending in rent. It's like unbelievable. So we
Yeah.
have the Prop 5, we have the rental measures and rental control measures, and also the Prop 33. In Canal, we are not endorsing any proposition, only the Prop 5 that we believe is going to have a really good impact on our community. Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. And that's kind of what we wanted to dive in and give an example of, like, how that can play an impact. And you're right. When we talk about housing, I can say that if you go and search up apartments for rent, it's very rare that you can find something very affordable, because everything is going really high. And with the economy right now going on, that has played a big toll on families. A lot of families have not been able to afford basic things like food, and that can be really hard, right?
Yeah.
There's, in most cases, both parents are working and they still can't afford paying the rent and feeding the entire family. And also, when you live on your own, that is also a big thing that, I have been living with my parents, and I have not chosen to move out, because if I move out, I don't know how I can live on my own.
Yeah.
Like, I am very blessed, and I have a job that has paid me very, very well. But even with that, like you said, 50% of what you make goes to housing, which is crazy.
Yeah, one thing that I was really different for me when I came here is the rent. When with my perspective from Brazil, sharing an apartment is like weird, because in Brazil we can afford even if you're just in your first job, you can pay the rent. You can not like here, the salaries are low there, but it's not common to share an apartment or rent a room. And here it's like, oh, it's very common. Everyone, we have like a different vision. And when we are in South America, when you came here,
Yeah, and I think that's a very important point to make is that because the rent is so high and it's not like if you do the math with how much rent is with how much you're making, it's not in a way
Matching. It's
it
not
doesn't
matching.
match,
Yeah.
which has caused a lot of families to live with multiple other families. Is it ideal? No. And I guarantee you that a lot of these families do not want to live that way. But it's just because housing is so expensive, they have to go through that route. And we can even bringing back, this is why those local propositions are very important because they can impact decisions on making housing more affordable
Yeah.
and other very, very important essential things that we need, right? So thank you so much for bringing that up. And I'm curious to know how much of the community knows about this proposition. Do like at all? When you bring up housing, are they like, we don't? Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah, they're not aware of they are even the proposition. They are not aware what proposition are. So yeah, we need to explain the basic the basic
The
from,
basics.
from the beginning. Yeah.
Well, this is so interesting, and I'm learning a lot with everything, especially since we work in a nonprofit. That there are things that a lot of these communities face, and even the youth. And we talked about also how I saw on the ballot. There's also the something about, and I might. And correct me if I'm wrong. In San Francisco, they passed this: if you steal something under $900, right? Something
90-50, yeah.
Yeah, then it's considered a misdemeanor. And I saw something on there regarding that. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, that
about
Prop 36.
Yeah, and that's one that I found really interesting. Could you explain that a little bit? Do you know much about it?
Yeah, but I'm not like super familiar.
But
Yeah.
it's okay.
They are proposing like to change the rules. So if you catch someone how can I
Stealing?
Yeah, stealing something for the first time. Yeah, the rule is the same, but for the second time, they are gonna be charged her, and yeah, it's
A
not
higher charge?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, for example, that also, when that was passed, crimes rose in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about.
Especially after the pandemic.
Yeah. So because that that was passed, that caused San Francisco to take a big turn, and it caused people stealing left and right, and that will impacted a lot of local business owners and even tourists that. The economy, right? Tourists come to San Francisco, to Sausalito, to all these areas, and that grows the economy because it's attracting people. But what ended up happening is that led to the crime rate to rise up, and because of that, 950, it was just a misdemeanor, so people didn't really care anymore and started doing that, and then local businesses closed, so many moved. So as much as we're like our vote doesn't matter, we can't do anything, there are stuff like these propositions that are put that we can say yes or no that can impact not just as a whole, but also those local business owners, people individuals. In this case, the example I gave, like those local businesses that closed, it didn't just affect the local business owner, it affected all the employees. The employees lost their jobs, and then on and on and on. So it's a chain reaction. So when we think about voting, we want to remember that it's a chain reaction, that it affects you, affects the people around you, and affects more people, which is why it's important to do your research, to learn more, to ask questions, to call Pedro or text Pedro and say, hey, I don't understand this, so that when you vote, you know exactly what you're voting for.
I would like to say something. It's very important to vote early because of that.
Exactly.
Because you have like time to be prepared, because it's, as I say, it's like 11 propositions. So it's a lot to read. Imagine you're on the line, you're
Exactly.
yeah in front of So make a plan to vote, get your ballot. You have time to do your research. We have non-partisan source that you can do your research. As I mentioned, the League of Unknown Voters, you can access the vote411.org, which is a website with resource. And also we have the kqad.org, which is another resource. And you can also follow the social media, the Canal Alliance social media, where we are posting and sharing information about elections and about the propositions as well.
Yes, I agree. And there are so many other nonprofits who are sharing so many information. I forgot the other ones. I think it's women's. I will put it in the description, but they're sharing a lot of information about the propositions and everything. And I love how you brought up the point that to vote early means to get more time to study what you're really voting for. And it may sound repetitive what we're saying, that do your research, because it's a lot. And if you just vote randomly, that also plays a big impact. Like we said, it has a chain reaction. And I didn't know that. Again, a lot of the propositions I asked you about, because I was like, this is not something we see on social media, or because it's local propositions, they're not gonna post it everywhere, right? Because every single county has their own. So you're kind of have to do your job. And
it's one time in 2 years, so it's fine. It takes only a few minutes to do your research. It's not like that much complicated. Just spend 5 minutes to do your own research, and you don't need to vote for candidates if you're not okay with that. But you should vote for the proposition that we're gonna have a huge impact in our community.
yes, like Pedro said, I also kind of want to dive into, I found it really interesting that you're not eligible to vote, but you're encouraging others to vote. What brought you to do this type of work? What made you say, I wanna be the one educating others about voting?
Since the first time that I stepped here in the U.S., I heard about Canal Alliance and the work they were doing in the community. And with my background, with my knowledge of politics, and with all that thing that is happening with our community, I watching the news, and I thought it was like my duty, even if I'm not eligible to vote, to educate others, to spread the information. So that was like my duty. It's not like something that I could step out. Yeah.
What has been the biggest challenge for you, moving here and starting basically over from zero? And go ahead.
Yeah, I would say it's a different country, different culture, different language. So I was only 19 years old, and I came here by my own. I used to have my cousin live here, but they left. They went to Brazil again. So starting from zero. Especially, I didn't have anyone, any.
Did you know English before you started?
Nah, not really.
No? How did you end up? Because
I went to
you're
the college.
college.
College of Marine. Yeah, I
And-
used to do it. Yeah, and watching movies. Yeah, American culture. Yeah, reading.
So you came here in how long was that?
In 2019.
So is that like 5
5 years.
5 years?
Yeah.
So you came here.
I
didn't speak-
came 6 months before the pandemic. So
Oh wow.
yeah.
Okay. So how was that for you? Coming, because the reason why I'm asking is I want people to understand a little bit more of who you are, because the work that you're doing is super important. And again, we're breaking those barriers of language, of culture,
Yeah.
right? And so you came here and you didn't know any English, but now you're working in
Even
education.
Spanish, I was like by
Did you learn
myself.
Spanish here?
Yeah. Well, I used to have some. I took some classes in Brazil, Spanish class in English as well, but not. It's not like the same. When you came here, when you come here, it's like it's a different word. It's everything that you learn in English is now they're not using this.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I was able to go to McDonald's and ask for yeah. That's all. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a different experience. Wow.
Yeah. And yeah, and especially during the pandemic, I was like unemployed. Yeah, I was. I
Oh,
don't know
that's
how
right. That's right.
how I made it. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I think that is a lot of stories
Yeah.
of many of our U.S. citizens. That's kind of their stories when they start from zero and start building and learning English and adapting. What do you hope to see more of Marin? Did you come straight to Marin County, or
Yeah.
you
I
came?
I've just lived in Marin County. I never lived in outside like in Sonoma. No. And I always living in San Rafael or now I'm living in Southern Marine, but I was in the Marin County. Well, I would say I don't know. I guess.
Well, my question was, what do you hope to see more of in Marin?
Like what?
Like, okay, I can give an example. When I came here, for example, we were kind of I live in Terra Linda. Do you know Terra Linda?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I came in, I was one of the there was not a lot of Latino families. That was in, we used to live in Canal. Canal was more dominant by Latinos, not as much as today, but there was definitely a lot. And in Terra Linda, I grew up, and there was not a lot of activities for like Spanish speaking
Yeah.
or my culture, seeing my culture in many different places. And I just thought that in my head it was like there's a certain American culture that you have to have, but then later on I learned that American culture is every culture. Like we're all mixed. There's Asian, African Americans, Latinos.
Yeah.
Like there's so many mix. And when I was growing up, I always wanted to see more of like my culture being represented.
Yeah.
And for example, we have many events here that is hosted by the city and MCM and sometimes Canal Alliance that show that. So I've seen that. My question to you is that, is there anything you hope to see more of in Marin?
Yeah, diversity. Because
Diversity?
yeah, we are in very wide county, So for the first years, I was like, I wasn't feeling like this is my place. Yeah, like a strange. Yeah. So it took time, 2 years, I would say 2 years, but I started to learn English and learn Spanish. So I started to getting familiar and yeah, but I hope we would see more diversity in Marine, especially like more Latinos and maybe Haitians and yeah.
And we hope that our community votes more.
Yeah.
Is there a big population of Brazilians here in Marin County?
It's growing up, but yeah, we are.
Do you get a lot of Brazilians like voters as well to ask you for questions, or no? Is there
No.
there's a lower lower
a few
population.
people. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, and I also work with registering or my friends, my personal friends that I know that they are eligible to vote, but for the same reason they were not voting.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I asked, so you can vote, but you didn't. Yeah, and I started, oh, you're not annoying, Pedro, but yeah, that's our duty. Yeah, it's a privilege,
Yeah.
It's a privilege. I would like to vote, but I cannot. I cannot yet. So the work I'm doing is, yeah, motivate and inform people how important it is. It's a privilege. So if we're not voting for you, please vote for others. Vote for your community. Vote for, we're seeing the immigration, all that problems that is happening in the U.S. and the Marin County. So yeah, it's a privilege. You should vote. You cannot waste.
I love how you said that, which we didn't touch on a lot. That's right. You're also voting for those who cannot vote, and there's a lot of people in our community who are in the pathway to being able to vote, but sometimes that's a stretch.
Yeah.
That's in many years from now. So, do you want to add something?
No, I just would like to add that I've seen even citizens that are their parents are not citizens. They are undocumented, and they're not eligible to vote, but their kids can, and they're not doing. So why not? It's for your family, your community.
Yes,
Yeah,
and for
we
your
have
future as
we as Latino, we have our own issues in our community, and others will not talk for us. They're not worried about us, our problems. So the main tool that we have is the vote, is our voice. We are not voting. Why not? You know.
Yeah, I think you were saving everything the best for last because you're right that in whatever community that you're a part of, there are others who might not understand what challenges you're facing. And if we're talking about bringing, kind of tying everything together, housing, for example, there's a lot of wealthy people in Marin County, a lot of wealthy people, and they might not understand the struggles of families who are trying to pay rent.
Yeah.
And that's where your voice comes in, and you can be that voice that can push to protect those who are going through those challenges. And thank you so much for bringing that up, because that kind of like flew past my mind in a way that we are voting for those who can't, and there are many of us. And it is a privilege, and not voting is also a vote.
Yeah, we are 20% of the Marin County's population, but our vote is only 4 or 5%. It's nothing.
There's a huge gap, and
Yeah.
our goal, and which is why we had Pedro on the show as well, is because we want to encourage everyone. And if he's doing the work to encourage us to vote and he's not eligible to vote, that says a lot, meaning that we all need to do our research. We all have to show up and vote. And we are very, there's so many things going on right now, but there are options for us to vote. And, voting via ballot, going in line, there's so many other options. And there's accessibility for those who have special needs. They can accommodate for you to vote. So you're completely right that it is a privilege to vote.
And it's easy. You can vote in person. You can vote early by mail. You have a lot of opportunities to vote.
Yeah.
So it only takes a few minutes, and you're done.
Exactly.
And you're talking for your community, for others who cannot vote, and even for you, for your province. If you're 100% happy with all the things that happen in the county, okay, so I'm not judge you. But if you're not, so do something to change it.
Yes.
It's your voice. Yeah.
And are there any? We're near the end of the show, so I want to give you this time to say any last few words that you have to our community.
Well, please vote. It's a privilege. So if you have this privilege, please do it. If you're not eligible to vote, please use your voice. Encourage others. If you have a family member who's eligible to vote, do it. Encourage spread information. If you cannot spread information, sharing my number, please. Yeah. Or if you have any questions, reach out to me, 415-306-0484, anytime. The election's next Tuesday, so please do it, please.
Yes, I'm following with that with Pedro. I know that social media and the media has really brought fear to a lot of people, but again, that's kind of what the media is doing.
Yeah.
So I would really encourage all of you guys to really get informed to get the right information. We'll be putting some websites on the Facebook Live and YouTube, so all of you guys can go and find more and learn more about the propositions, who you're voting for, because like I said, the media can be really playing with our minds at times. So yes, and those who have questions with voting, how to vote, where to vote, you can contact Pedro. And also, if you DM us on Tabor de Marin, we are more than happy to direct you to where you need to go. And again, your not voting is also voting. So if you're saying, oh, my voice doesn't matter, you not doing anything is also doing something. So may you guys all, do your research and go vote, and we will see you guys next time. Thank you so much, Pedro, for joining us. I had a great conversation with you. I learned a lot, and thank you so much for the work that you're doing. I really mean that you're not even, you're not eligible to vote, but you're doing the work and encouraging us all to vote, and that is something that I'm very grateful for. So I hope our community continues